This is the meeting after the meeting. None of our participants get paid, and we don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. Enjoy the show. Smooth. Good vibe.
Finally, back to something reasonable with like a beat. I don't even know what was last week. That weird 80s music.
It was, but you know one thing I realized we've never really done? We need to have music with some lyrics.
That's hit or miss.
I thought for sure Gabe was going to come in with some heavy metal last week.
Why don't we try something with some lyrics at some point?
Yeah, dude, so you have to talk over them? That'll be good.
I mean, I don't think it really matters, but
yeah, I guess
we'll try it. We can try anything. It's our show.
Either way, I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
If you don't know, we always do some different music every week, and Gabe surprises Chris and I with something. So
sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Gabe was playing something earlier. I was like, what is this, man? And I was like, what is going on? I came downstairs and I was like, this is weird, man.
Yeah. You know.
Earlier today?
No, tonight. Yeah, earlier tonight.
Stuff,
oh,
though.
dude, that song's like trending.
You were like, this is the song I listen to every day when I go to work.
Dude,
I was like, what is he talking
about?
about?
I don't go to work. I work from home.
Okay.
Whoa.
But when I'm sitting at my desk and trying to get in the zone, yeah, I do listen to it. And it's a good song.
Well, since you work from home doesn't make you better than us.
I was like, okay, all right, Gabe.
Oh, I would never say I'm better than you guys.
All right, well, we might as well get into it.
Yeah, episode 15.
This is the meeting after the meeting. I'm John.
I'm Chris.
Welcome to episode 15.
Yeah,
I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. If you're live on Zoom, we're glad to have you. We got a great show lined up for you.
I'm excited about our guest.
Our guest is fire.
Pumped.
He's gonna be awesome. For those of you who don't know, the meeting after the meeting is a podcast that is broadcast live on Zoom. We also put the recordings out on podcast streaming platforms. And last week we had our best week ever.
We did.
Close to 150 listens. Thank you to all of our listeners. We're going to continue to
we're not breaking any records, but it was good. Yeah. It was a good week.
We're going to continue to put out content every week, a new episode.
Absolutely.
We had a meeting tonight trying to figure out how we're just going to make it happen. So every week we're going to be putting out an episode. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to stop.
Was that a question?
It was a question. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get me on record?
I just wanted to make sure.
Put me on record.
Every week, we are going to get an episode.
The question we should be asking is Gabe. He's the one we can't do without.
Well, we figured that out tonight. We were like, who we really need is Gabe.
We'll put up the animation of Jordan Belfort. I'm not leaving.
Hey, you know what? Whatever works. Whatever works for you, Gabe. We'll take it. How are you doing tonight, Gabe? Let's introduce our producer, Gabe.
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Doing well.
How was your week?
It was good. Chris and I had a great weekend, right, Chris?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we did a little AA retreat. It was.
Did you get a lot of sleep, Gabe?
No, I didn't. I was up till about 3 or 4 both nights, and I played a total of 6 hours of poker. Bought it at $100 and ended up with $101. So I won $1 for 6 hours of poker.
You know what? That's 6 hours of free entertainment.
Yes,
though.
dude.
Not
exactly.
bad, right?
I was stoked.
I'd consider that a win.
Yeah, sometimes seniority has its advantage. That they snuck me in my own room this weekend, so I didn't ask for it.
I mean,
but
well, some people had hotels.
They had it sorted.
They probably figured out you might hurt your back if you had that.
That's what they said. They said he's kind of old.
It has its perks, right?
Yeah. I mean, you get in there with a snore. That's a problem.
Can be a problem. It can be a problem.
Sawing logs.
We've all been there, man.
Yep.
We have all been there.
And our guest was there this weekend, so I know he's fired up. He's ready to go.
Let's bring him in, man. We're excited. He's a longtime friend of ours, great member of AA. Let's introduce Spence N. from Rockville, Maryland.
Yes. They love you.
Spence, what's up?
Not much, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
I just want to say, whatever you guys are doing here, this is amazing. And whoever, if it's 150 people, those are the people you're supposed to reach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I like that, man.
We
That's
try to
true.
put on a good show, and we take time. And we put a lot of time into it, so it's good.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm behind this 100%. This is amazing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were at the men's bonanza this weekend too.
Correct. I was there. I was asked to speak, and
Nice.
yeah, it was a fired up weekend, and a lot of people, sharing gut level vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it was
Emotional sobriety.
Yes,
A lot of
yes.
them talk about that.
Yep, growing along spiritual lines, emotional sobriety. I mean, just like real life stuff. Like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is real life.
Yeah.
And people are staying sober and applying the tools of AA, like
Yeah.
in real time.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. Did you stay up till 4 a.m. and play poker too?
I did not. The latest I stayed up was I think 1:30.
Yeah.
There was a
Hey,
boxing match
You
on.
see,
I had to catch
you
it.
see, you see that gray in that beard? I mean,
That means
you know.
4 a.m. is not happening unless he has to, right? Unless it's
I'm gonna throw somebody on the bus, under the bus. Rick,
Do it.
I outlasted Rick, and I don't see any grades in Rick's beard.
Hey,
That's true, Rick. What is going on?
Rick. For those of
I
you
had to tuck
who,
him in. I had to read him a bedtime.
Rick is in our studio audience right now.
I love him, man. I love him.
He didn't make- Rick's
had to
getting
tuck
called
you
out.
in.
He can't even say anything.
Oh, Lord.
He's gonna
No,
be
ain't got
a
no
guest
mic.
one day. He's gonna get his revenge.
Yeah, I'll get it back.
He'll have his time in the hot seat.
Yep.
Well, glad to hear that it was a good weekend. I'm sure you did a great job speaking. And now we're going to try to get a little more out of you here and hear a little bit about your story. Why don't you start out by just giving us what we like to call the stats?
Yep.
Right. So I have been sober since August 2nd, 2017. I have a sponsor and I have a home group.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
We love to hear about our guest stories. Why don't we start off with a little bit about what you were like? We'll get into the 3 W's here. Why don't you share a little bit with us about what you were like?
So I actually thought, I was just a person that as soon as I started drinking, it was like night and day. It was like instant. It was, instant party animal, reckless, just a lot of, like the earmarks were there. You know what I mean? Like the signs were there, like from the beginning. And so there wasn't really a progression in terms of, the way I drank, but, it was, it was like, I don't know, the imaginary line, I started over it, I think.
Right off the break.
Yeah, like it was like the first time, and they were like, it was instant.
No ramp up.
No ramp up. So
So some people, they come into A and they're like, I was a good kid, or I got good grades, and then I kind of fell off. Or what kind of guy were you, at that time? Were you already messing up? Would people have been surprised that Spence was drinking?
I will say that I started smoking weed before I drank.
Okay.
And so
Me too.
You could say I did that alcoholically.
Yeah.
And so I was already, causing trouble, and my, people having,
Because it's easier to get
yeah,
when you're
that too.
younger.
Yeah, and that's
what
what
I
I got
hear.
exposed to.
Yeah.
And so before that, I was a regular kid, into sports, and I had my times where I was, getting bad grades and just like, unfocused or whatever you want to call it. But so the marijuana came first, and then I guess the drinking, that was just like gas on the fire. But
Yeah. And what, so you start smoking weed, you start drinking, do you start getting in trouble right away, or are you more just having fun, partying?
Well, I will say that when I started drinking, it coincided with me going to college, and it was the first time I was
Right on time.
Yeah, like it was perfect time, imperfect time, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. But so, yeah, there was trouble from the beginning, and so I just had that illusion that a lot of people probably have. I can party and still have a good life.
Did your family, so you said you were going to college, was there expectations there with your family that like Spence we're proud of him, he's going away to college?
Oh, big time.
And what were you thinking that was going to happen, and it kind of got derailed?
Totally. I like I said, I thought I could have fun, and as they say, have my cake and eat it too. But and I had the perfect setup. I mean, my classes were at night. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was
alcoholic schedule, class schedule.
And I don't even know if I purposely did that, but that's like, that's what happened. And so, high expectations. I mean, education, like a lot of families, is very, high priority. I mean, very expensive college, private college. So, loans and so.
You still paying those?
Yeah. They've decreased.
You're not the only one.
Right.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. I mean, as my sponsor used to say, if I knew I was going to have to pay it back, I wouldn't have borrowed it. But it was
really, I knew, and I still borrowed it.
So okay,
try to borrow more.
So you're in college, you're drinking, and what did you start getting in trouble? How was your grades?
First semester, I held it together. First semester, there were instances of blackouts, which I didn't understand what was happening at the time. I thought they were just like dreams, and so I first semester, I mean, I just kind of like skated under the radar as far as like trouble with the school. I pulled decent grades, enough to like not go on probation. Yeah, I would say, but it was like everything was like right under the surface. It was. I mean, we'll get into it, but
it was just waiting, just waiting to burst out, and then
right.
Okay, well,
and it didn't take long.
Yeah,
I didn't make it through the second semester. I'll just say that.
It's quick.
Yeah, it was quick. Yeah.
Oh, so your college career ended before the second semester was over? Before the second semester
was over. Interesting fact. In between semesters, I think my family probably caught wind of like hey, this guy is like kind of out of control. So they sent me to Uganda. My father was in Uganda, so they thought that me going to see him would maybe help me, resolve some things within myself to be motivated and come back with a, turn a new leaf and whatever. So so I went overseas in between semesters, and came back, and things got quickly out of control. Yeah.
So the trip to Uganda did not help.
Not in the way it didn't. It did not help in that way. It was good. I mean, I didn't grow up with my dad, so, it was good to see him. It was good, family reunion, things like that, but it did not, serve its purpose.
But you probably couldn't drink the way you wanted to on that trip. So when you got back, you were like, all right, let's get right back to it.
This is the thing. In Uganda, I mean, there's, I have a lot of enablers at the time. And so they didn't, imagine you go to somewhere else where people don't really know who you are. And so, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, my uncle was giving me bottles of cognac, my favorite liquor, Yeah, it was,
They hadn't seen the damage you had caused. You kind of like, it's like getting to start fresh. It's like moving somewhere else and being somebody else.
And so there's a lot of terms for that, but, like rearing your ugly head, wherever you go, there you are. So, but eventually I'll show up. And so, but it was a short enough trip that I didn't.
There you go. They didn't know.
Yeah.
You're able to leave and they were like, that Spence is a great guy. He's going to do wonderful.
I mean, he gets drunk a couple times, but so it was, I get back and, I have one of those nights where, because I was the type of guy, I always wanted to party, keep going, never wanted to go back to reality. And so you probably were the same, Chris. I've heard you talk about like after hour spots and, all those kind of things. And so, one night I came home from the bar and a couple of kids from the University of Maryland, they were, looking for a certain student who I knew this student. And so we went looking for this student. Party, moved over to my dorm. They vandalized some property and I got held responsible. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those nights where it's like a haze, and when things came to light, I got held responsible. And so essentially got asked to leave campus. So I was no longer welcome to stay on campus.
And that was in the middle of your second semester?
Middle of the second semester. And, suffice to say that school is not a top priority. So, now I have to commute to school. And so you can imagine I lost interest very quickly.
Yeah.
So
how did your family feel about that at the time?
Man, very estranged, very disappointed. There were actually some physical altercations I had with some uncles. And, it was just a terrible time looking back on it.
Sorry, I'm trying to get him to move this. Okay, so what happens there? You're out of school. Because I remember back to when responsibilities in my life started to be removed just simply out of me messing up. And to the family, it seemed like, oh, this is the worst thing that could happen. But to me, secretly, I was kind of happy because I had more time to do what I wanted to do.
And I relate to that. And, I started, actually, fell out of school, had to go back to community college, started getting, I got a job at TGI Fridays, that culture.
Nice. That's a perfect
Montgomery College?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
MK.
Yeah.
Harvard on the pipe.
Exactly. So
Great school, by the way. Great school.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people excel at Montgomery College.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So anyway.
You didn't?
I did not.
I did not either.
Yeah,
I did not.
Yeah.
All my cousins did great.
Yeah, that's a great school.
Well, they probably weren't selling drugs in the cafeteria.
Exactly.
They weren't doing that, no.
Going to class high.
Yeah.
So yeah, things were not going well. Like I said, I got a job at TGI Fridays and got introduced to that whole life. And but I relate to you, yeah. So having less responsibility. I started day drinking and you know what I mean. Like it's just
TGI. That TGI Fridays in particular, with the one right there on the pike. Okay, yeah, that's an alcohol extreme.
That is a haven for.
I mean, that was the spot,
man. Yeah.
The one of the things I never worked in restaurants, but one of my most envious things about it was the daily cash. Every day you got paid. It was like,
well, you could drink too on the job.
You could drink on the job.
I was doing drugs on the job.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it all. I mean, I'm just saying. But.
There's drug dealers working at the place or drinking.
You were a server.
I had some. I was a server, and no wonder I had some people walk out on bills. And I mean, it was
you just like wouldn't come back.
Come back and table's empty.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
that's great.
A lot of servers coming into AA.
Yeah. Bartenders.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you fail out again at MC.
Actually, I did the withdraw, take the money. Yeah, that move. Yeah,
buy some drugs.
Yep, that's good. I like that. That's another pro move.
Invest in my immediate future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you withdraw, you take the money, and I'm sure everybody starts realizing that Spence isn't going to school and he's kind of hanging.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
What happened after that?
So this is around the time I got my first arrest as an adult. So first of many, and very estranged from my family. I mean, I started this cycle where I would stay with them and live that double life, and eventually they would catch wind of what I'm doing and ask me to leave, and I would try my luck on the streets, and end up usually what would happen is I get locked up and dry out. Family comes to see me, and that whole want to do some things differently, and
probation,
the
house arrest,
outpatient treatment,
IOP, and so I just began a years of just trying to beat the system, pass drug tests, I interview well, so I have no problems getting jobs, and then lo and behold, I'm I got the work truck out in Langley Park, and
they're tracking you on GPS. What's going on? What are you doing over in Langley Park?
Why does the car smell, or why does the van smell like Funny story. I used to work at Parkway Cleaners next to Frank's, and one day I just got the job. I asked them to borrow the van to go pick up a check from DHL. I had just got fired, quit, whatever. They said, yeah, sure, just bring it back. I bring it back, and the shop was locked up, and so I was just like, I'll bring it tomorrow. So I ended up in my favorite neighborhood in Northeast, and money ran out, so I had to use whatever collateral, and so rent the van out, and I mean,
Parkway cleaner van, dude.
And and so
oh my God.
I mean, there were things that happened in that van I don't even know. I mean, I brought the van back, and all they said was that it smelled like cigarettes. And I mean, they were like, "This is we have very expensive clothes, and we can't have the I'm like, if you guys only knew what was happening in that van, but
I would have did the same thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So this is my life.
Yeah.
So when you rented it out, did you go with them?
I did not. So
you just let it ride, like you literally. There you go.
Right.
Rent it out.
I got what I want.
Hopefully, I'll see you back here.
Yeah.
I mean, I rented it out to this guy named Gator. And I mean,
Gator.
Oh, Gators.
Gator.
What's that?
It's from the other guys.
Yeah, the other guys. Yeah.
I was about to give a line.
Talking in third person.
Yeah. Gator don't play.
Yeah.
Just such a good move.
So what would usually happen is that the drugs would run out before the van comes back, and so I'd be freaking out and just praying.
Pray.
Yeah, I'd
those
pray.
were our favorite times to pray, right? We call them the foxhole
man,
prayers.
it got stolen. I mean,
I suppose
I parked it. And it got stolen.
But that's when the realization sets in. Like what's wrong with you? Like why did you? Yeah. So
that's not good.
Yeah.
So you're running through jobs. You're in and out of treatments. You're in and out of jail.
Wearing out my
on
welcome.
paper.
Yeah.
On paper.
Yeah.
Did you finally get to a place where maybe you realized you shouldn't, you didn't want to go on living this way, or you were willing to try something different?
Yes, I remember one particular time I was in jail for some pretty serious charges, at least to me. The most serious charges I've ever been encountered. One being a mandatory minimum, because I apparently did some transactions within 1,000 feet of a school, and so what happened was I got offered a plea deal and was given leniency, and before I got out, I had this moment of clarity that. By that point, I'd been in jail maybe over 10 times. And I started to realize that every time I did what I wanted to do when I left jail, I ended up back in jail. So what's the common denominator? I mean, I'm a slow study, even in AA. So, you know what I mean? What happened was there was a lady.
Everyone at this table understands that statement.
Yeah. There was a lady in that jail who could give me a bed in Navy Road. So I asked for help. And
Is that Bunny?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, I talked to her.
I was wondering if it was Bunny. Yeah,
she was on her way out around that time. Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, helped. Yeah, she's up there.
So you got into Avery Road, which for those of you who don't know, if you're listening, Avery Road is a local 28-day treatment center and long-term treatment center in the Maryland area.
Yes, and I ended up and. I remember what I remember about this time was that I was very surrendered. And I would say maybe it's more accurate to say I didn't have any ideas like quick enough, to like I was out of.
You were out of ideas.
I didn't have a new one, ready to execute. Anyway, I went to Avery Road and they suggested I go to Lawrence Court. Still surrendered, so I said yes. I went to Lawrence Court and a very good place for me because I came from living in the streets and no responsibility, no bills, never learned any life skills, how to interact with other adults, how to show up to work. So in Lawrence Court, I actually learned how to do all these things, and it was just like a great move for me. And so what ended up happening was I ended up at Promises through a series of events. I know we don't have time to get into that, but ended up at Promises and
Promises. Again, is an AA meeting that we on a Monday nights that a bunch of us used to go to.
The lights are like this.
They actually, you know what? They are like this.
Very bright.
I always say, I walked into Promises. I feel like you could have done surgery under those lights in that meeting. It was so bright.
Yeah, it was very bright.
And, we're coming from basements and alleys and
nighttime.
Right.
Like I wasn't up during the day, like hanging out. It was always in the nighttime.
It was a great meeting.
Yeah.
You would hear those promises and you would be like, one day maybe.
Yeah, one day. And I was told to not come back to Lawrence Court without a sponsor. And so, I probably felt like most guys in AA or girls walking up to somebody and looking at the floor and I remember I just
kicking the ground. You be mine.
Yeah.
It's like asking someone out on a date.
I know this is weird. Like if you don't want to, it's fine. I get it if you don't have time. How many people do you sponsor now? You don't have time.
I wish that wasn't true, but I mean,
that's how it is, man.
Yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, my first sponsor, I asked him how much time sober he had, and then I asked him if he would sponsor me, and he asked me, what most sponsors ask potential sponsees,
at least in this area.
Yeah, So
yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, can you call me every day?
Yeah.
Can you take suggestions?
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know the ramifications of those that question. I mean, who could? I mean, but I just knew that I was surrendering.
It's not in the big book.
It isn't.
Or the sponsorship pamphlet, but it's two great questions to ask to see where someone, to basically get a feel on where somebody is.
Like a screen, like Yeah. And he, I'll say, I mean, it's amazing what what happens in AA when people are tuned in and doing what they have been tasked to do in AA. And he picked me up for the first 30 days. I mean, literally every day for the first 30. That's what I remember. It might not have been true, but it was majority, if not all. And so he would, radio was off, and he would just listen, and we would read the book, and he would just spend time with me. And he helped me understand what alcoholism is, what it means to be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful. I mean, that, it's, I hold it near and dear to my heart. It's one of my best memories, in AA.
Yeah.
Because that's the only currency of value is our time and attention. That's it. There's nothing else really matters in AA. I mean,
You're right.
You didn't ask him what kind of job he has.
Right. And he didn't send me a bill. He didn't send me a bill afterwards.
He didn't send you a bill.
And
that's a thing nowadays, man. I see online sober buddies and sober companions,
sober coach,
sober coaches. Oh, don't even get me started. We gotta have a whole episode on that, man. Whole episode.
Wow.
Hey.
Maybe we should.
I'll be a sober coach. I'm kidding. How much do they pay?
Right.
Oh, so okay.
Not
so
enough.
you got,
I can tell you right now, not enough. Because I know I didn't have any money when I was new.
Exactly.
So you're starting to get into AA, and are things starting to get better in your life? Are you feeling like maybe this could be an answer?
I am actually, and on a very basic level, I started to see that AA was working for me. Two experiences that stick out to me. One, I remember one day I had just gotten paid, and that was obviously a lot of newly sober alcoholics a trigger for
Fridays.
Yeah.
They were tough sometimes.
And I got paid, and I remember just my body doing something, you know what I mean? And it was uncomfortable. And I remember just my mind was thinking about going to Lanny Park, and I remember I called my sponsor, and he told me to, I don't remember exactly what he said, but one thing he said was, share about it in the meeting and get to the meeting.
Get to the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what I learned from that experience was that feeling can pass. I didn't have any experiences that, of that kind.
Right, because anytime that feeling you would just go and do it.
Exactly. So I was a slave to it,
I love that, man.
I didn't know I had a choice, so.
I love that.
The other experience I remember, of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you guys have probably heard this, but my sister had a high school graduation get-together party, big party, family, extended family, and so I was expected to be there. I have a good reason, and you know what it says in our literature about there's going to be alcohol there, and so I wouldn't necessarily say I was spiritually fit at the time, nor did I understand what that meant, but it would suggest that I take someone in AA with me, and I've come to learn about all kinds of tools in AA, in terms of having to show up for life, in difficult situations, and so I took Joe Sweeney with me.
Yeah.
And I think he became a candidate because I grew up in near Burtonsville, and he grew up in Burtonsville. And so we had this little connection. And so he offered to come.
Yeah.
And he came to my sister's high school graduation party. I remember, I don't know if he was comfortable or not comfortable. I mean, he was, my family's pretty welcoming, but anyway, he was there, and I remember it just meant something to me.
Yeah.
And what happened was I was standing there, and my stepfather offered me a drink. And to me, this is important because the last person I would expect to do that, I don't think he meant anything malicious by it, but
sure.
I was caught off guard and from someone unexpected. And so what happened was, and it was like something took over it, and I just calmly said no. and it was. I mean, I can't equate to that to anything but working in my life, because I didn't produce that for myself, and I could see that.
Yeah.
Like it was like it happened, and I was like a witness to it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was a power restoring you to sanity.
Right.
Even at that time.
Like it says, recoil as if from a hot flame.
Yeah.
And that happened for me.
Yeah.
And and so I mean, that experience, along with the other one I described, were very powerful for me in the beginning.
Those are the kind of things that really kind of gave me a stronger belief in a higher power. Those things started to happen where I would say no, or I would make a decision that felt, I was like, I can't believe I did that. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe something's really 100%. Working. Because I was such a doubter and a negative. Like, I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, and you need those little like glimpses early on. Otherwise, you wouldn't stay. I mean, I remember one time I was probably 6 weeks out of being. I was out of the pre-release center, which is what it sounds like. You know what I mean? And I had never been 6 weeks on, not institutionalized or incarcerated without a drink. And I remember coming home on the metro. I was taking the metro at that time to work, and I had a panic attack because, if you've been incarcerated, you're not used to being around. I mean, the metro here is crazy. I mean, hundreds of people, and they're bumping into you. I mean, you're like sausaged in. And I had a panic attack, and I got off. I used a payphone, called my sponsor, and I don't even remember what he said. I just remember getting back on the train, going home, waking up the next day, and thinking to myself, "Man, dude, I can't believe I didn't drink." Yeah. And I knew in that moment that it wasn't me. It had been all the meetings I was going to, that I had a relationship with this guy. I could call him when I was in trouble, and I didn't have to take a drink. And that was like, I mean, I don't know if I was sold, but I was like, it's got to be AA.
Yeah.
There's no other reason I didn't drink.
Yeah.
It has to be, because every other time I would have been drunk already.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, thanks, Spence, for sharing about your story. We're going to move on to our topic, and I think it kind of fits into why we do this now. What the topic is because we have found a solution, and we do believe in a power.
100%.
And the topic this week is, you should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. Now, this is just what we have written down here, but before this, it talks about going to any lengths to help another alcoholic stay sober. And I think this topic is very important today, because especially as we start to get sober and our lives start to get good, I start to maybe question a little bit about what I should do for AA or where I should go for AA. And it's very clear here. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. And so, I mean, what's your experience with that, Chris? What was done for you to, guys I think they found you in PRC, right?
Well, no, when I was incarcerated, I mean,
or incarcerated in a jazz program.
Look, people, I would not be sober. I mean, no, I would not be sober had not people brought AA to wherever I was, and I wouldn't necessarily call, I guess going to a prison it's not a sordid place. I mean,
it is. It 100% is a sordid place.
But these guys came in and took their time out to deliver a message to me, and for a long time I wasn't there to listen. But when I was, they were still there.
Yeah.
And I got the help that I needed. And, in sobriety, some of the most amazing experiences that I've had have been going to places like that, whether it be Second and D, whether it be St. E's, whether it be Avery Road. I used to take
all treatment centers, shelters.
Yeah, I mean, I used to take me up to maximum security up there at Jessup Prison.
Yeah.
And, it's not like I took that meeting. I went to their meeting that they had. And you had guys in there doing 25 to life, and they were the most grateful guys that I've ever met in my life. And I'm thinking to myself, and I don't even know if I can summon that kind of gratitude today. You know what I mean? But these guys, they were so grateful just to be sober. and have a second chance at life, you know, even being behind bars, you know. And when you see stuff like that, I mean, it moves you.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, these guys are grateful. What am I missing? You know,
as you're walking out,
as I'm walking
the
out,
50 doors that it takes to get out of Jessup, locked doors and go home. Yeah.
You know, what am I missing? These guys are grateful. I'm always complaining about some dumb shit, you know? So
the disease of perception is strong, you know? How about you, Spence?
Well, this is a great reminder because it says in our primary purpose that, you know, to carry the message to the still suffering alcoholic. And, you know, I used to go to St. Elizabeth's and, you know, and I took a meeting into Phoenix House in Arlington. And
it's another good one.
Yeah. And I mean, that meeting is probably the highlight of my week, you know, and it's become, you know, something that I've, you know, treasured and held on to, you know, with dear life. Even when my daughter was first born, like that was one of the meetings I had.
That's the one you weren't, me too.
Yeah.
That's the one I wasn't going to let go of. That's right.
So and I know.
Are you still doing that?
I am.
At the Phoenix House?
At the Phoenix House, yeah.
I'd love to come out there with you sometime
sure
again. It's
thing.
been a while, man.
Sure thing.
Keep me on the list, please.
One of the, coming back into AA this time, one of the suggestions my sponsor made was to tag along with the guys going in St. E's and tag, you know, get to a detox. And, you know, and I mean, I can see why, you know, and it makes so much sense now. And that's where I belong, you know, being a product of such environments. And I mean, I'm there to carry a message. It's God's business who, you know, comes in AA. And I remember, I mean, quick story, I was in Clarksburg and was in a meeting and Joe Snyder and Aaron Hunt brought a meeting into Clarksburg.
Yeah.
And when I got to Franksville the first time and saw Joe Snyder, I mean, I was like, Joe, and you know, and he tells me to this day, like he was feeling like that meeting was just a waste of time. And when I showed up, you just never know.
You never know.
Never know.
The circle, you know, and it's just the ripple effect of, you know, I just never know. And so my job is to always, you know, never question it, you know, like it says. I mean, this is a great reminder.
And my, you know, I think it's the thing I'll say is my truth has been that sometimes we go into places like this. I went into a place recently and it was chaos. You know, most people weren't listening. People were talking, getting up every 2 minutes. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what am I doing here, man?
Yeah.
You know, this is a waste of my time. But the reality is there's that one person who's sitting there listening, nodding their head, and I'm there to help that person.
Right.
You know, and you never know. I was at a meeting last night talking, and after the meeting, this guy comes up to me and he's like, I was in Avery Road, man. I just got out of Avery Road last year. You know, and it's just like, you never know who you're going to talk to.
Countless times to all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You never know. And I really think that our literature has a lot of promises. It makes a lot of promises. Most of the steps, a lot of promises behind them. And in this statement, the second sentence, the first sentence, again, I'll read it one more time. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. The second one is keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. They're promising you right there that if you keep on the firing line, God will keep you unharmed. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we are all sitting here and we are all still actively trying to help people.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
You know?
I mean, I'm sure you sponsored a guy probably right now that's under a year sober.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And look, sponsorship, I've always, this has always been one of those things. You don't have to sponsor somebody under a year to be helping them. You know, you can be taking them to meetings. You can be taking their calls.
Oh,
Everybody's always like, oh, I'm not sponsored. I'm like, well, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
You know, some of the people I've helped the most, I haven't even sponsored.
Just be in their corner.
I've just been somebody they could talk to before they called their
Those
sponsor.
are the calls I like to take anyway.
Yeah.
Those are much better than with the, we don't have to
be in their corner.
Yeah. Be there for them. Support them. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Drive them to the retreat.
Drive them to a retreat, whatever it is, you know? So.
How many guys can you fit in that Tesla, Gabe?
4.
But
All right. The battery doesn't get a little strained. You got 4 guys in there.
I don't know.
Oh, well, all right. So reminder for all of us that we need to stay in sordid places and be willing to go to any length to do that and keep on the firing line of life, and God will keep you unharmed. Let's move on to a little segment we like to call the newcomer tip of the week.
Love that music.
Yeah.
Just drop it.
This newcomer looks like he's up to no good.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Got his head down. He's sitting in the corner. Maybe it's his first time at the meeting.
Yeah, or he's
under
shame
the
going on.
influence.
He's like, man, maybe it's the 10th time he's at.
He knows he's about to pick up another 24-hour chip.
Sponsor just told him to go get that chip.
Right.
He's like,
He might be under the influence.
He might be under the influence. He might have just threw a bottle of whiskey in the trash can in the bathroom.
You
He might have just took a shit in the urinal. That's happened.
That's a true story. How it happened, I'm still unclear of, but it did happen.
We had a guy one time drinking in the bathroom at a meeting, and somebody's like, he's drinking in there. And we went in there, and we were like, hey, and he got nervous and fumbled the liquor. And we were like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. And the bottle fell on the ground in the stall. We're like, come on, man. We see it.
man.
What are you
Wow. You're right there drinking.
You know what's crazy about that is that could be any of us.
It probably was me. I just don't remember doing it.
But yeah,
you know?
I don't know,
Yeah,
man. If I'm
I relate
drinking,
to
I'm
that.
not in an AA.
Well, that too.
I can guarantee you that. Trust me.
I drank in Latin America. That's what I was.
I will say this: the last time before I came back to AA 100%, I called my old sponsor drunk, and he invited me to his house. And we sat there, and he said, we're going to go to an AA meeting. And we sat there and talked for like an hour, and I started to sober up a little bit. And he was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then we're going to go to the meeting. And he went to the bathroom, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I started to sober up, and I was like, what am I doing? And he was like, I'll be right back. And the second he went to the bathroom, I left. I didn't come back to the meeting for 2 years after that. Can you imagine?
Oh
You
my
see
God,
me, and
dude.
you're like, you don't see me for 2 more years.
You like come out of a brownout. You're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Literally, I was like, I'm out of here.
A meeting.
This guy comes out of the bathroom like, I'm so excited. You're gone.
Gone. Ghost.
Gone. All right. The newcomer tip of the week actually kind of relates to what I just said.
Yeah.
It says it's okay to come back if you mess up. AA.
I think Spence got some experience with this.
He does actually. AA is F up friendly. So just for Spence and for everybody, what we're doing here with this newcomer tip is we're trying to help people who are new to the program with simple ideas and things that you may not understand. And I think this is an important one. And Spence, you have some experience?
I sure do, and I've drank and come back to AA quite a few times, and number one, I'm not gonna say I'm an alcoholic, so if I drink, I mean it's that is what happens, and so I'm just because I think a lot of people have shame when it comes to coming back to AA.
Exactly.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're self-centered in the extreme. And so a lot of people, I remember the first time I, had some time sober and came back, and people said, so what, now what? Mm-hmm. And, and I remember for whatever reason, somebody said that this experience will be able to help somebody else. And I don't know how that helped me, because I don't know if I was at that level to really be that, I guess forward thinking, mm-hmm. But it helped, and so I got busy, and so it is a F up friendly. I will say, if you are in AA and have messed up, you're in AA. Some people don't get that chance, and I that is, I mean, it takes what it takes. I mean, I know you have experience. I do. I feel like I took over 10 years just to get to the place that I am now. And it takes what it takes. And so I understand you can get down and. But I have experience, and all you have to do is whatever you're doing, whatever you do from this point going forward, it can be different.
Yeah.
And you have the power to change that.
And we're alcoholics. I think it's funny. People are like afraid to share about drinking in meetings. They're afraid to tell people they're thinking about drinking.
Right.
And it's just so funny because we're in an AA meeting. That's what the point of this is. It's just so funny to me. It would be like going to the doctor and being afraid to tell him what's wrong with you because right. But you're at the doctor's office.
The fact that we're not drinking is what's crazy.
Right.
Exactly.
Not that we drink again.
It's like being at the hospital and trying to act like I'm not sick.
Exactly. Yeah. What are you doing here? We know. We already know anyway. That's the best part.
I will say, drinking and alcohol, like it stripped me down to the point where I was willing to do whatever. I'm thinking about drinking. I'm thinking about doing this. Whatever. If it makes me look bad, I mean, it just got me to that. and that's what they call the gift of desperation. And it really got real for me in that way. So there is that, you know.
Yes.
Well, it's one of those things, and I've known you since your whole sobriety, in and out, all the times you drank. And the last time you came back, it's one of the things I respect about you is that you had an air of seriousness about your recovery that really was attractive. You know, you were like, this guy fucking cares. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't want to say like militant. You weren't like militant. I mean,
right.
But you got to be, because if you're not protecting your sobriety, then who is?
Right.
You know? And I think it's really important to be protective, at least initially, of your sobriety, because, man, there's so many ways that you can fall off the beam when you're new, you know? So many loopholes that you can get caught up in, so many potholes that you can get tripped up in. And to be sort of protective of your sobriety like that is how I was, you know? And people are like, oh, you're a first timer. I was like, no, I wasn't. I came in and out of AA for years before I got sober, you know, this last time.
Right.
And when I came back, I was like, you know what, man? This is serious business, because if I drink, it's the fucking game, the whole game. It's over, you know, for me. And the next time I sit in front of a judge, it's not going to be for 5 years. It's going to be 25 to life. I don't want to see any part of it.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe, I mean, I don't want to, I want to say this with some respect, because I don't have this experience, but I'm just using a metaphor, you know, like how a person would feel, you know, having a near-death experience, you know, like having a new lease on life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not making light of that experience. I mean, you know, knock on wood, but I just, that's how I feel. I feel like I've seen, you know, the other side, you know, and it's.
I've had it. It's very similar.
Yeah.
You know, I think what we're trying to say is, if you're new or if you're coming back, the point is that it's okay. Yep. You can come back. I think a lot of people, they come into AA and they drink and they think, well, I can't go back now. I'm not allowed to go back, or I'm not able to go back. That is just not true.
It's nonsense.
You can come back. We welcome you back. I came back, I don't even know how many times. You know, you, Chris, we all, you know, a lot of us have. There are plenty. Here's the other thing I'll say. There are also plenty of first nighters. You don't.
Yeah, you don't.
We should probably say this.
Yeah.
You don't have to drink again.
Yep.
No.
There are plenty of people who come in and never take a drink again.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God. And so that's 100%. You know, something that happens all the time too. So we are just sharing our experience, and I think it's important to say that you can come back regardless.
We hope you come back.
We do. I do. We hope that our guest and Chris and Gabe have some idea of what the difference is between the AA Big Book and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, because coming up next, we're going to get into our sketch of the week. It's called We Had But Two Alternatives.
If the past is prologue to the future, then no, I don't know the Big Book or the 12.
If you don't know, this is a game we've played several times before. We have
the worst,
in my hand 5 different readings. Each of these readings is chosen by me, and it comes from either the Alcoholics Anonymous
John
Big Book
plays. He never
or
plays.
the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book.
He sits and scoffs.
A couple of things. Nobody's ever been really good at this. I made it a little easier this week.
Didn't someone get 4 out of 5?
Maybe they
did.
They were guessing.
Jane killed
Jane,
she was guessing.
But it was 50-50.
I guessed 2 and I got none.
So this is the way it works. Everybody's got their pen. We've got some people in our studio audience. I don't think we have pens for them, but you can do it in your head and play along and be honest with your count, okay?
Or on their phones.
This is what's or you can do it on your phone. This is what's going to happen. We're going to read these one at a time, and you're either going to write down Big Book or 12 and 12. At the end, we're going to go through them all, and you're going to be honest and keep what you had. You get 1 point for everyone you get right, and there's a bonus point per question if you can say the chapter that it is from. If it's in the Big Book, the chapter. If it's from the 12 and 12, the step, because they're only coming from the steps. Okay?
Let me sit up here. Maybe that makes a difference.
Everybody ready? So we are going to go with number 1. It's up on the screen. Under the lash of alcoholism, we are driven to AA. And there we discover the fatal nature of our situation.
This one's kind of a lame
Then
one.
and only then do we become as open-minded to conviction and as willing to listen as the dying can be. You can't say that, Chris. Not everybody knows. I mean, might be a layup for you.
I've heard it many times, but it's hard to pinpoint. What chapter.
Okay, hold on. We'll give everybody one more second. And remember, if you can get the book and the chapter or the step, it's an extra bonus point. All right, let's move on to number 2. As we discovered principles by which the individual alcoholic could live, so we had to evolve principles by which the AA groups and AA as a whole could survive and function effectively. It was thought that no alcoholic, man or woman, could be excluded from our society. I got him here. I got him on this one. This was the one that when I did this one, I chuckled to myself a little bit. All right, number 3. Everybody got their answer? Yeah?
Good to go.
Don't cheat, Chris. Are you
I
cheating?
can't even see that.
You can cheat. All right. Number
Does it
3.
look like I'm cheating?
I thought you were looking at the answer key over here, but I'm going to put this here. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. I see somebody in our studio audience nodding their head like they know. No, you don't? No? Confident? Amanda? She's... All right, let's go. Number 4. Gave people enough time. Number 4. Aren't these practical joy killers as well as time consumers? Must AAs spend most of their waking hours drearily rehearsing their sins of omission or commission? Well, hardly. The emphasis on inventory is heavy, only because a great many of us have never really acquired the habit of accurate self-appraisal.
So hard, man. Why? Why do you do this? Why do you do this to us, man? You love it.
I love
you
it.
love it.
I love the look on your faces. Like, I can't believe I don't.
I think there's a clue in this one. Or a coincidence.
Don't say anything. Okay. Don't say anything. You might be right, though. And you can say it when you... All right, number 5. Besides a seeming inability to accept much on faith, we often found ourselves handicapped by obstinacy, sensitiveness, and unreasoning prejudice. Many of us have been so touched that even casual reference to spiritual things made us bristle with antagonism. All right. Remember, you get a bonus point if you write down the chapter or the step. And the winner is going to get... What are we giving away this week? I think we're giving away another postcard. Amanda, can you bring that over here? Chris, hand that to me right here.
It's the same one from last time?
It is.
One effing day at a time.
One effing day at a time. You can send this to a sponsee who's struggling on vacation. You can send this to a friend. It is an actual postcard.
Just remember,
for our winner.
One fucking day at a time.
One fucking day at a time, right?
Right on.
All right, we're going to go to our answers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and start with somebody different every time, and you're going to write it down. All right, Gabe, number 1, what did you have?
I had the big book.
Big book. Chris, what did you have?
12 and 12, step 1.
Spence, what did you have?
I had 12 and 12, step 1.
Spence and Chris, you are correct. 12 and 12, step 1. Gabe, incorrect. We just lost our screen here. Okay, good.
So we get bonus. So that's
you guys
2
get
points.
2 points. It is from step 1 out of the 12 and 12 under the lash of alcoholism. We are driven to AA, and therefore we discover the fatal nature of our
I
situation.
think that's the first time I got the first one right.
I'll be honest with you. It was a little bit of a layup. That one was like end of the first step in the 12 and 12, somewhat of a layup. So
It was an alley-oop.
It was. All right, number 2. Chris, what did you have for number 2?
12 and 12.
12 and 12.
Yes.
Spence, what did you have?
12 and 12, third tradition.
And the traditions are not, I said in the beginning, but I understand that you didn't hear me. It is only the steps out of the 12 and 12. So
okay.
Just so you know. But I got to say, Spence, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And I thought that what people wouldn't do what you just said because of the fact that traditions art's in there, but that's pretty good. Gabe.
Big book.
Big Book? Okay, you just guessed. I can tell that was a guess.
It wasn't a guess.
Okay, where is it?
I admitted it was a guess.
And what did you say, Chris?
12 and 12.
It is from the Big Book, the foreword,
told you.
foreword to the second edition. And
That's sneaky.
yeah, that
forward,
was the
dude.
sneaky one.
Yeah,
I did that a little sneaky.
was
Forward to
sneaky.
the second edition,
like
page
that.
'Cause I wasn't listening.
XIX. But Spence got, because they do, I was like, this is a weird one because they talk a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never even seen a second edition.
It's as we discovered principles by which the individual alcoholic could live, so we had to evolve principles by which the aid groups and AA as a whole could survive and function
This is my
effectively.
least favorite sketch, by the way.
Spence was on it. You were hunting it down. You were trying. All right. Number 3, Spence, what did you have?
Big Book.
Big Book?
Working with others.
Okay. Gabe?
Big book.
Big Book. Okay, Chris?
Total gas 12 and 12.
It is the Big Book, working with others. Spence is
On
he's
fire.
taking you guys down here. That's 2 more points for Spence. Spence put down 2 there.
All right.
All right. Our studio audience, no, you're not doing too well yet. Amanda's got 0.
She's got 0.
You know, I look up to Hoover in AA.
Maybe not after this.
All right, let's go to so that was number 3. That was while you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you're getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. That's a good pull there, Spence. All right, I will be surprised if anybody gets 2 points here. Number 4, Gabe, what'd you have?
12 and 12, step 10.
Chris?
Total gas, Big Book.
Spence?
12 and 12, step 4.
It is the 12 and 12 step 10. Gabe, what is happening?
God,
How did you
Gabe.
pull that?
How did you pull
guess
that?
Be honest. Did you guess on the
It's
step?
about inventory. We're taking your inventory
it
in
is.
a daily.
It is, and it could have been 4 too. Spence was all over it too. Like 4 or 10 right there. You had it. So number 4 was, aren't these practices joy killers as well as time consumers? Must AA spend most of their waking hours drearily rehashing their sins of omission or commission? Well, hardly. The emphasis on inventory is heavy only because a great many of us have never really acquired the habit of accurate self-appraisal.
After rereading that.
Yeah. But still, 4 would have been a good one too. All right, number 5.
So surprised I don't know that one.
Number 5, Chris, what did you have?
12 and 12, step 2.
Spence?
Big Book, We Agnostics.
Gabe?
12 and 12, step 2.
It is the Big Book, We Agnostics.
Oh, my God.
Spence. I mean, it's over. Spence took it down.
Over, dude.
It's over.
He
Spence.
got 6 points.
7.
7.
Yeah.
Crushed
I think
it.
he had 7.
I think
8
he's the
more
most-
than, wait, no.
7 points.
No. You had 2 on the first one too, right? Oh, no. You.
Yeah,
Yes.
What was number 2?
No, number 1.
Number 1, he got 2.
No, number 2 you missed.
Okay.
I got
Okay,
4
so-
points.
2, 7.
You had 7. How many did you have, Gabe?
4 points.
4, Chris?
2. Yeah.
Rick? 4, Amanda? 1. Okay, all right. Hey, you know what? Hey, let's hit the applause one more time for Spence.
I think he's the most winning.
You're definitely the smartest
Yes,
guy
that
we've
we've
had on here with the Big Book.
100%,
And you
dude.
know what you get for that?
One fucking
day at a time.
That's pretty cool.
So I do want to say this. If you're listening and you're playing along, thank you. For all of you here with us today for playing along, thank you. This is one of those games that's tough. It's an ego buster. It's a little bit of an ego buster.
That's fine. I need that.
Spence, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother.
This was awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you for having
did a
me.
great job.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Like I told you in the beginning, I mean, who would have thought I'd be doing something like this? You know?
Yeah. It's
or any of us. for that matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we converge.
Really good. You did a great job. Want to thank our studio audience for being here. We want to thank all of you for being with us online.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will
Thanks
be
for tuning
back
in.
next week with another great guest and another fun topic, newcomer tip and sketch. Thanks for listening to the meeting after the meeting.
Meeting.